So this year we put these climbing skeletons up the side of the brick home. They're 3-foot skeletons, and I thought you'd like to see how we did it, so I made this short video to show you how we got it done. So these are the skeletons that we'll be using. They're just cheap. Not sure where we got them from. They have several problems. First of all, the joints, particularly the feet joints, they have an issue where they come off all the time. These little rods pull out and then the feet fall off. It's happened to about half of them. I had to put them back on. So we'll fix that. The other problem is that the heads do not pivot. They're on 2 pins, so they only face forward. So that's the first thing that we're going to fix. All right, so the first problem we've got with these is its head only faces forward, which is not very realistic to be climbing a wall with your head facing straight forward. So it's not hard to fix. Just pop the head off, and you can see that it's held on with pins that go in these 2 holes. So obviously the head can only face forward or backward. So the remedy is to find a drill the same diameter and drill a hole here and here. Do that. Drill 1. Like that, and then test fit it to see where the other one has to go. It's like right on the rim. Okay. So we'll drill the second one right here. There. All right. And now we should be able to pop the head on sideways. If you don't drop the head. Okay, so a little bit of force, but you can see now I've got him facing sideways. Next, we'll articulate the arms. And one of the problems is that you see how floppy these are? When you try to tie them on the wall, they're really hard to position. Now, I've done it yesterday. I used some tie wraps, and I'll show you how that worked. But today I'm going to try something different. So let's take a look at that. And so here's what we're doing now. I have done these on the front side of the house already, and what I know from doing that is that the chest has to be about 4 inches off the ground to make it look at all like the climbing. So I've gotten these marble coasters that are 4 inches high, propped him up, kind of positioned his arms, and now I'm going to glue the joints in place with hot glue. So one thing to be careful of is you see how these shoulder bones are just these small pins. You want to make sure that they're pushed in before you glue it, so that you're gluing these 2 bones together, not the pin, because it's pretty fragile and I'm sure that it would not hold the articulation very well. So I'm just going to glue all the joints. I've got this plastic wrapped down to protect the counter, and then we're going to let it sit for an hour or so and see what we have. Okay, so now you can see that we've got our skeleton articulated and glued, and I've really put the glue on pretty thick on all the joints. We're hoping that will hold him steady. Next we're going to turn him over, prop his legs up, and do the other side. So stand by for that. Okay, let's see how this has worked out. It's been glued for a couple of hours now, drying. You can see I turned him over and put some supports under the arms and legs to hold him in the right position, and then I glued very heavily along the joints with more of the hot glue. You could use super glue for this. I've been thinking about that. I'm sure it would hold really well, but it would have to be really thick because the joints are really wide. So I may try that sometime, but let's see how this works so far. Just take the supports out. And see if we can turn him over. Well, I think he's going to hold himself up. Feels pretty stable. So next we'll put some anchors on the wall and see if we can get him to stay on the wall. So the way I make the anchor points is like this. I make a couple of these loops out of tie wraps or zip ties or cable ties, whatever you call them. I cut off the excess and then put a little bit of glue where I want them to go. That. Stick one of them down. Like that, and then put glue over top of the back end of it and through the middle a little bit, just to make sure they have a good bit of glue to hold these down. Now, this doesn't look like much, but all the skeletons have been hung using these kind of anchors, and they held up great. Last night we had quite a bit of rain and a pretty good wind, and they didn't move. The ones that were on brick. So this works great for brick. Now, the ones I tried on glass were not as successful and they came off. So I don't think this would work if you're anchoring to glass. But for brick, it really works spectacularly. So we'll just let this dry and then we'll tie our skeleton to it. And then after we have the anchor points dried on the wall, you see we just attach the skeleton to the anchor points with another tie wrap. Okay, so let me show you the difference between the way I originally put these up. You can see one of the first ones. So you see what I did? I anchored the arms and then the legs, and then I lifted the chest up, and I used a tie wrap to keep it from falling down. It's much easier. This is the new one that we just did. It's much easier. I only needed the 4 anchor points, and it was a lot easier to work with the skeleton already articulated. So that's the last one of the 7, so let's see if we can find them all. And there you go. I hope that was fun. Happy Halloween.